Hello, guys, hi. Maybe you haven't been told this before, but this method is tried and tested and it doesn't work. Bullying fat people into weight loss, in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't work. Your obsession with your fat phobic remarks and rhetorics is killing you. And let me tell you why. Systemically, psychologically, and all of the other E's, it's killing you to hate me. Did you know that? It's killing you to hate on me. All of this is a distraction. You're under spells. We live in a world that tells us our vices are bad and microdoses them back to us. Down to the color grading of the marketing you see every day is dependent on psychology that encourages us to indulge in vices. And yet you want to bully me because I'm more likely to be a victim of that, because I'm more vulnerable to a cheat day. You want to bully me? What about the skeletons in your closet? Let's talk. Come, one to one. Why does my weight cause such a visceral reaction in you? And don't give me that malarkey of we're concerned about people's health, we're worried about this. No. I know a lot of people who are unhealthy and they don't look anything like me. So before you throw out all them fat jokes, and especially before you insult someone who's making serious strides in activism for bigger bodies and going against corporations and celebrities on behalf of marginalized voices, before you make her the target of your projection, do your blood clot research. Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Hi guys, it's me, Leah Tazila. It's been a while. I know you've even forgotten my face, innit? You've forgotten my face. You don't even remember what I look like. It's been a while. I'm sorry. I've done quite a bit in my time off of YouTube. I actually have. Your girl has graduated. I'm officially a postgraduate from Central St. Martin's in MA Fashion Communications. Clap. I deserve a clap. I owe the government 80 bags. You better clap right now. So there was that, and I threw a little shindig for my friends and family to celebrate that as well. We had a time. Listen, this isn't even all of my voice. This is like 89% of what I've recovered. Shots of Patron flying everywhere, DJs going crazy on the set, Mikate everywhere, Kwanga everywhere. And I had a beautiful, stunning, absolutely incredible dress made by the lovely people at Mabel's Fashions. Shout out to Auntie Mabel. Big, massive shout out to my auntie. I'm an honorary Ghanaian, guys. It's saying Auntie Mabel is the sweetest, the kindest, the most affirming woman I've ever dealt with when it comes to tailoring, besides my own mother. So me, when I went into this tailoring process, I had the essence of Bobrisky with me.
To be snatched. Can I be snatched more?
And I'm saying to Auntie Mabel, can I be snatched? Can you snatch me more? Hey, I don't know if she thought I meant that I want to be snatched up, like by the gristle of my bones. This woman was pulling the corset at angles that I didn't even know existed. You think you're good at physics? Not like Auntie Mabel. Pulling, scraping the corset against my ribs. And I'm there like, almost seizing up. And she's like, it's so that you can be snatched, my dear. Okay, Auntie, you had a vision. I'm just here to perpetuate it. She was just such a diva, like just saying crazy things to me like, you've got everything, my daughter. You're gonna find a husband. You've got the boobs. You've got it behind. You've got a nice shape. I was like, Auntie, how do I record this and put this as my alarm, please? Can you say it again for the camera? But all jokes aside, fantastic customer service, a brilliant team that kept in communication with me throughout. This was months in the making. My dress took hundreds of hours to make. The beading was done by hand, and of course I'm supporting local black-owned businesses. They're based in London. Big people deserve support, and they deserve to have clothes that fit them. They also deserve to have clothes that are given the same level of marketability, aka clothes that are designed to be attractive, just like smaller bodied people. The clothes shouldn't be compromising in beauty, the clothes shouldn't be compromising in structure, and they shouldn't be compromising in integrity or quality just because they're going on bigger bodies. But no matter what I look like, I'm always going to deliver that message. Basically, what prompted me to make this video today was seeing how much of an uproar Samyra's activism, or most recent activism, has caused on social media. The attacks on someone who may not be everyone's cup of tea, but at the end of the day is trying to get a good message through to people. It's absurd. It's actually appalling to see. There is a person behind the camera. Someone woke up with the motivation to go against massive corporations and, you know, people of bigger influence, to be a spokesperson for a good message. The message that she's spreading on behalf of other people who agree with her is that big people deserve the same service and style, ability and resources as smaller people. Why does that make you so mad? To some degree, this debate is expanded to the either extremes of the pole. There are people who believe that, big bodies shouldn't exist and we definitely should be advocating for more skinniness in society. And then there are big people, or people who aren't even big, that advocate for the opposite of that and believe that big people should have a centralized experience in shopping, and regardless of health, that should be the main focus of the future. The purpose of my video today is definitely to push those poles even further and create more space for a balanced argument. I did quite a few hours of research on this topic. I read some articles that I'm going to leave the link in my description box. And of course, me as a bigger bodied person, I have my own experience that's contributed to my views. And I think there's so much that is being unsaid about this whole issue, as well as the Samyra versus Cardi controversy. And I think that in ignoring all of that middle ground, we're actually proving Samyra's point. So, as usual, I have a tazillion thoughts. People comment on the performance element of her activism. So everyone talks about how much, it's all a big show and she's so loud and she causes a disturbance, she harasses workers, she doesn't go about things sensibly. And I think that's BS, to be very honest with you. To even call it a performance is redundant, because this is social media and everything that everyone does is a performance. We are literally all coming online to express a single message at a time. That is often the interpretation of a performance. So I just don't agree with, comments like, oh, she's so loud and she causes a disturbance. Okay, but how else is she going to get her message across? Because when she's sending those polite emails, she's getting ignored. It's not like she's not been showing us all that's happened. This hyperfixation on how Samyra delivers her message, to me, is a cop-out. And it is usually made by people who aren't intelligent enough to interact with this conversation from the beginning. One of the first pieces of context I came across was an article called Why Cardi B's Joke Isn't Funny. And it basically just discusses reasons why that joke landed quite flat on some people, and why it wasn't actually funny when you look into the history of blackness and bigger bodies, especially in media. When we speak about Cardi B specifically, we have to acknowledge that she's a public figure who is constantly under scrutiny. So anytime she's in the limelight and it's some sort of beef, she's gonna have a defensive response. That's just her brand at this point. That's just how she's known to behave in the limelight. She's not one of those celebrities that falls to the pressure of positive PR. She doesn't have to respond in a way that appeases the masses unless she genuinely thinks it will affect her brand. It's ironic because this is the point that Samyra was trying to make. Anytime there is a joke made at fat people's expense, no one bears the consequence. So some people would agree that Cardi B's joke was wrong. It was messy, regardless of who it was aimed at and regardless of fan interaction. On the other hand of that, though, I think there's something to be said about this culture that we've created where celebrities always have to come to the stand when they've done something wrong. That's not to say they shouldn't be held accountable, because of course everyone who makes a comment in public should be saying that in good faith, or should at least have strong reasoning behind why they're saying it. But at the same time, it's important to consider where you get your moral ground from. If you're looking at celebrities as the epitome of good morals, if these people are genuinely your role models in life, and if you have a higher expectation for them than you do people who have the paid role of being spokespeople for the absolute, like mayors, politicians, ambassadors, if those are even remotely the same to you, there's an evaluation that you need to have within yourself. And again, it's not to absolve celebrities of responsibility. That's not what I'm arguing here. Rather, it supports my point, which is that the more we hold the right people accountable for the things that are going wrong, the more likely they are to fix it. So if you look at the ambassadors, the spokespeople, the mayors, the chairmen, the politicians as people who should be saying the right thing all the time, they should be doing the right thing all the time. If the entertainers of society are the only ones you hold a moral high ground for, you get shaky results. A lot of their public reputation is for the benefit of being paid, and they don't have the moral obligation to be politically correct. In most cases, they're not being paid for their political stance. Rather, they're exactly who you need them to be at any given moment. A good time for a short time. That's always been Cardi B's shtick. And more than once has she come out to remind us that she is no one's role model. What's going to be interesting to see, however, is how she takes this controversy and moves forward with it. Is she going to ignore Samyra and the thousands of other fans who have said that that joke was offensive and that her behaviour towards fat people in general has been dismissive? Or is she going to continue to play into quite a harmful trope that actually divides some fans of hers because they might be a bit more principled when it comes to fat phobia? Only time will tell. Moving on swiftly, another thing that I came across quite a lot of during my research for this topic was sensationalist media from either side, but particularly from the disagreeing side. A lot of the creators who were supposed to be broadening the conversation just ended up having their own vengeful agenda against fat people. And it was very evident through their little jokes and snide remarks they were making as they spoke about Samyra's case. I don't think that's respectful of the cause, and I think it proves Samyra's point again. We're talking about ability to walk into a shop and be catered to, and you're talking about how it's less likely that we walk to a shop than it is that we got on motor scooters, or little stupid jokes like that. And the comment sections are just full of the most rage baiting, aggressive, disrespectful fat jokes you've ever seen. Some of them aren't even funny. You have the nerve to be disrespectful and not be funny. Like, you think we haven't heard these jokes a million times before? Like, come on, at least refine your skills. If you're going to be hateful, make it bang. I digress. I think it's so easy to come on the internet and insult a group of people that you don't understand rather than hear them out. It's so easy to discredit them and call them words like lazy or undisciplined, when actually you'd be surprised how much you could learn about the human psyche if you would listen to a bigger person's story. You never know how much of their story could even overlap with yours, regardless of size difference. And then I see this really unintelligent rebuttal of, why is she recommending people read books? Maybe because you don't. And the books that she's recommending explore the intersectionality of oppression in race, body size, gender, and age. And maybe if you could just expand your mind beyond the brain rot of your explore page, you would know that. So many of the books she's recommended, including the more popular ones called Fearing the Black Body and Thick, those books in particular address the intersections between how people of different races and sizes encounter a dual oppression, a double layer of attack just for being who they are. It's one thing to have a bigger body, it's another thing to have a bigger body in black skin. And discussions around that, including talks of Western versus African beauty standards, are very important to why we have to have these conversations. My body doesn't offend people where my parents are from, but it offends you in this society right here and right now because you were socialized to be offended by it. Different cultures dictate beauty standards, and for that reason, bigger bodies, depending on where they're from originally, can face a different type of oppression. The more we ignore that, the more we dismiss these experiences. That is also Samyra's whole point. We cannot just chalk it up to people being lazy and unfit or undisciplined, when actually there are literal social structures that encourage people to look a certain way in different parts of the world. And no one is saying that we need to adopt those in other parts of the world. We are just saying that that needs to be accepted. We are all different people from different backgrounds, and nobody should be shamed into losing weight or even gaining weight. Which leads me to another side of this argument. So many other people who have smaller bodies are saying that they feel dismissed when big people or fat activists discuss their experiences. And I'm not going to be the person to dismiss them even further. I understand why someone of a smaller body who's only watching those extremist rhetorics would think that being skinny is a problem for big people. But you have to use your discernment here. Only one of these body types has been popularized or pedestaled through most of modern popular culture, and it's not the bigger body. It has always been the norm, or the beauty standard, in Western media, which is the media that makes the most profit and is the most globalized type of media, to have a smaller body. Now, could you possibly have been bullied for being smaller? Of course, 100%. May you also face some sort of mental issue or mental barrier with yourself and your body as a smaller person? 100%. Nobody can refute your personal experience. But understand that there is a specific type of life experience that comes with living in a bigger body. And that's just something that you will never be privy to. When people argue for the rights for all, they are arguing for equity. Hence why I named this video The Quest for Fat Equity. People are asking for a level playing field in a world that already accommodates for so many other types of people. Why is it a bigger issue to make bigger clothes? We're even seeing brands take down size ranges. As the global political stance shifts more to the right, we're going to see less of those woke, inclusive stances from companies and brands. I think a lot of people in this conversation have a similar political stance to the sort of red pill manosphere rhetoric. They're picking the most extreme cases on either side of the polls to argue a point. And there is a lot more nuance when it comes to this conversation of fat phobia and fat fashion. And I also think it's even more interesting that the average American person isn't even aware of the history of US standard sizing. If you look into how the standards came to be, you would realize that a lot of people who are against Samyra's activism for fat phobia wouldn't even be called average size at the time the average sizing was set. So when she's talking about how fat phobia affects everyone, including smaller bodies or smaller body people, she's telling the truth. What we recognize today as a standard size was once considered a plus size. It wasn't always normal to be a fuller bodied woman. That doesn't even mean a fat woman. That just means a woman with a regular, proportioned, healthy size. Over time, as scientists make more revolutionary discoveries, we realize that the metrics used to determine what is healthy and unhealthy have changed and varied for various political reasons, including, yep, you guessed it, racism. And the values used to establish an average size in the US today are still not based on the median of different racial body standards. Points to a Eurocentric evaluation of what is healthy and appropriate for the average size. There are so many disingenuous arguments against fat people that it almost makes me wonder what direction we're heading in. We started off as Gen Z with the most empowering, positive perspective on inclusion. And we watched the world embrace that for a short time. People were considerate of each other's different experiences with race and gender. And we actually had positive reinforcements in LGBTQIA+ movements. So where did it all go wrong in the last 5 years? The truth is, as I mentioned previously, with the shift towards the right in global politics, it makes sense that we're seeing more divisive content like this online. People are literally being forced to choose their money over their morals. And that looks more like agreeing with whatever's going to disrupt the consensus. Sensationalism works well because it polarizes people. It forces you into a corner and you have to defend one or the other. But the lack of balance in these conversations, or rather neutrality, is what allows us to be even more ignorant in our beliefs and opinions. If we do not consider all perspectives of all parties affected, we end up with conversations that are so demeaning for either participant that we get nowhere in the end. I don't think that fat activists owe anyone an apology in how they behave, as long as they're not inflicting violence or disrespecting anyone. And I think that anyone who is attempting to be open-minded about catering to bigger bodies should be just that. Read about the things that are affecting people. Try to understand. And if you wouldn't even like to take it that far, have normal conversations with big people. Try to understand the lived experience of someone who goes against a system that tells them they do not look right. Listen to the stories that you're told of how people fight themselves and others every day just to be accepted. The more you actually show some human empathy and compassion, the more you open yourself up to a balanced understanding of things. And that is what makes you more educated on the whole. Samyra isn't educated just because she's a Harvard graduate. She's educated because she's considered all factors in this argument, and she's reached her own conclusion about how companies and people in general can make improvements towards accepting big bodies. The same could be done for anyone with an open mind. Thank you so much, guys, for listening. I genuinely appreciate those of you who have returned to my channel. I know that it's been a very long time since I've uploaded. Don't worry, I promise this time I'm not going to be gone for as long as I was last time. It's been about a year, and even I would be disappointed if I was uploading one video a year. That's ridiculous. Thank you so much. If you're new here, thank you for staying throughout the whole video and tuning in. Hopefully I'm delivering content just like this to you on a more regular basis. Please subscribe, please like the video if you enjoyed, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so you know when I have arrived again. Thank you so much to everyone. Love you all.